I went to Stevensville School, and Ed Geipel was in our class with us. And when we got into BIAC in Dutch New Guinea, he was a mess sergeant. And I met up with him just a couple days after we got there. He had a life raft all fixed up as on his Jeep, and he had hand grenades. We was going fishing. And that's how everybody did. There were so many sharks out there. You was scared to get in the water yourself, but with hand grenades and life rafts, you could get a lot of good fish. So we had something to eat.
I have one unpleasant memory that is difficult to shake for me. I mentioned being with the French First Army for a time for the crossing of the Rhine. And we were on the outskirts of a city with they had an airport on it. And the Germans were across I believe it was across the Rhine River with a 320 millimeter cannon or gun, railroad gun that they'd hide in a cliff during the daytime. And anyway, we were in this farmhouse. We had to take turns guarding our equipment, and I was on guard duty. And they let go with this 320 millimeter Big Bertha, and they were striking. The bombs were falling, the shells were falling in a housing complex, maybe a few hundred yards away. And I could hear the kids screaming in there for help, and I couldn't go. I couldn't help them. And that's a tough memory to deal with.
I think my greatest memory is VE Day, when we were at sea and we heard that the Germans had surrendered. We were ordered to go back into Brooklyn and stand by to go out and pick up captured German submarines. And the other great experience, of course, was VJ Day, when Japan surrendered. Those were two exhilarating, exciting memories for me, because that meant the war was over. I could return to my wife and children, get back in college, and perhaps live a normal life.
On Okinawa and on Leyte both, the Japanese did not defend the islands or encounter us on our landings, which made it very, very pleasant. But on Okinawa, after a couple of weeks, they decided they were going to chase us off the island. And one night when we were out in the front lines there, they decided they would come through our lines and infiltrate our area. And that particular night, we had flares up all over. They came running and screaming and hollering and so forth. And I was on the outskirts, and I had a semi-automatic 45 because I carried a bazooka in, and that thing was, I wondered whether it was ever going to quit. But after an hour or so, they never got through our lines. But that was an indication that before we were always the one on offensive, always moved ahead, and never had anybody, a counteroffensive coming against us. But that was a night that really was out of this world.